this day that you've made, and you have given us another opportunity to try and make a difference, a good difference in our world, and we're so thankful for that. We are so appreciative, God, of how you continue to manifest your presence here in the earth, especially in America. Thank you, God, for your shield of protection around our country, as well as states and the beloved city of Hope Mills. God, we thank you. And as we thank you, God, we continue to recognize and never forget how frail we are as humans and our great need for you, Lord. We have differences, but God, we need you to inspire and guide us. And so in recognizing that, Father, we ask you once again corporately and individually to forgive us, God, for anything, Lord, where you see that we need to just do better in, Lord. And we thank you for your patience and your long suffering with us. We continue to give you thanks, God, for the many residents here in Hope Mills. Thank you, Lord, for their contributions to better this town. Thank you for all that you're doing through each and every one of us. We're especially grateful for our Mayor, Jackie Warner. Thank you, God, for how you shield and protect her and her family. Thank you for her staff, the board, that are here helping her to make wise decisions concerning the welfare of this town. We are always so secure and safe when we think about our first responders, oh God, and how you continue to encourage and strengthen them and keep them. We continue to pray warring angels around their vehicles, around their homes. Continue to shield and protect them, Lord, as they willingly lay down their lives and willingly allow themselves, God, to be in a place of danger just for our own safety. We give thanks to you, all of them, the firemen, everyone, God, that contribute to the welfare of Hope Mills. And now, Lord, the agenda is set. We continue to call on you to endow the board with wisdom, Lord, to dispatch the many things that are on the agenda that we need to do to make this a better place for everybody living here in Hope Mills. And we give thanks to you now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. It has also been requested tonight that we speak into our microphones. There have been some times during the videoing that some of us are not clear. The other thing is, if you do come to make public comments or any other type of presentation, if you'll please do so at the microphone, and again speak clearly so that we can make sure that the recording has everything loud enough that it can be heard when it's played back. At this time, we have any additions or deletions to our agenda. I do have one, and I apologize to Ms. Starling. I was supposed to have made sure that it was on there about the Festival Committee's recommendation for the date of the Spring Festival, so I'd like to add that as an item under new business, which can go at, it would become item I, if it's okay with the board. And then I would also like to add item J, which was another one that was mentioned but wasn't included, and I should have checked this before, and that is the Mayor's Youth Leadership Committee that will be kicking back off, and that would give us the start date of that. So those are the two things that I need to add, would be the Festival Committee's update and to include the date to vote on for the Spring Festival, and then the Youth Leadership Team. Is there any other additions or deletions?
Motion to approve as amended by the mayor.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand and seeing none opposed. Thank you, sir. Next, we have a presentation, and this presentation was presented to our town on August the 9th. And I thought Miss Bailey would be here this evening. She is actually our town's representative on the Joint City-County Appearance Awards. Our town was recognized. This was the overall top award that was given. And this award was the Town of Hope Mills, for restoring the Hope Mills Lake to its former glory in downtown Hope Mills, and is presented by the City-County Joint Appearance Commission, August the 9th, 2018. It was asked that this would be presented to the town, and also that we could get a picture of this so that they could have this presentation to add to their information. So at this time, I'd ask maybe Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell and Ms. Adams, and then if we've got some
Kathy Johnson here.
okay, and Kathy, if you're on the appearance committee, that would be a good one too, to be in the picture. And do we have someone here that can take a picture for us? Okay, Ms. Blevins, if you'll do that. So if y'all will come down front, and then we just need the picture with the presentation, and then after that, this is for the town to hang. And then again, this is from the Joint City and County Appearance Awards. We only have one representative on that committee, and that's Ms. Bailey. The rest are all representatives of Cumberland County. I'll present this to Ms. Adams and Mayor Pro Tem, three of them, and then. Thank you. There you go, ma'am. Thank you. And we did have others in the community. Our South Main Street entrance was nominated, and it won something. Samuel's was nominated. Carlene's was nominated. There was a multifamily housing development was nominated. Astoria, which is on Black and Decker Road. So we were well represented at this 10th annual awards. Next, we have on the agenda is a presentation from Stephen Fleming of Fleming & Associates regarding Phase 2 of the Lake Park project. Mr. Fleming?
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, and staff, it's really more of a question answering time. We have the excuse me, we have the schematic design on the board here. Can everybody see that? Is it clear, or is it hard to see?
Mr. Fleming, you might need to speak a little further down in that mic. I know you're very tall.
Yeah,
How's that? Better?
better.
So that's our schematic design, and I understand several of you have questions on the design, and it's a good time to ask those questions because it is a schematic design, so anything that's on that design can be changed, things can be added, things can be eliminated. What you see, the really thin lines, I'm going to bend this over just a little bit so I can operate the computer. So that's the water line right there, if everybody can see the little arrow. In this area it says beach, but it's really a kayak launch. And this is the ramp right now. The concrete ramp is existing there. So the new bulkhead is proposed right now to start at this corner right here at approximately the same elevation as the boardwalk that comes from your pier area. So if somebody wants to walk into this area, they could just walk across the concrete at the same elevation, and then they'd be on the grass line right here. All these thin lines that you see here, all back in this area, they represent the topography of the area. We had a survey crew come in, and so they did the existing topography, and then the darker lines are where we deviate from that topography. For example, this would be a dark line right here, which would be, you know, a revised topography, and this thinner line would be the existing topography. Excuse me. So we cut two sections through here. So last time we spoke, I think several of you wanted to understand how we were going to change the slope, how we were proposing to change the slope. And so these two sections right here, this top one and this one right here, they just represent, it's as if you took a section right through here somewhere and then another one right through here, and you looked, you know, through a section through the earth. I probably could have drawn a person standing right here so you'd see. So this line right here represents the grade that you have out there right now. If you were walking down it towards the lake, you'd be walking down at a fairly gentle slope. And as you approach the lake, right at about this point, you see the existing grade goes really sharp down to the lake right here now because there's no bulkhead. So the grass goes right into the water right in there. So we're not proposing to change it very much. The new grade, you'll see, will remove a little bit of earth right here, and the new grade is much more gentle. So if, for example, you had a toddler right now, and a toddler could not walk right here. Neither could anybody that has difficulty with balance, because you see how steep it is. So right now, the usable space is in here, fairly far away from the lake. So what we're proposing is the bulkhead here that's about 3.5 feet tall. And then all this material right here would be new fill. So this line right there is your new line. And so that would be an area where most people would not have any difficulty walking on the grass. From higher up towards the lake, or if they wanted to walk along the bulkhead, they could walk along the bulkhead. And here is a section cut in a different location showing how steep it is right now going down to the lake. And then once the bulkhead is constructed, you would fill this little triangular area right there with soil and put sod in there, so we would have a gentle slope. And as you requested, right now we don't have a wooden boardwalk that runs behind the bulkhead right now. That can be added at a later date, but you know, our office was told at this time that you're not interested in the wooden boardwalk. So here we have, so the boardwalk would extend somewhere in this area. We haven't terminated it at the exact location, but it would be right here, and it would be constructed with timber posts, and it would run all the way up this line. And then we have the kayak launch, and of course the bulkhead goes straight here too. So we added a couple stairs. Now these stairs can be made smaller, they can be made larger, they can be put in different areas, but the primary use of these stairs, we don't have identified the swim area out here. That's something that hasn't been done yet, but we need to get out there and maybe in the water a little bit and locate your bollards or your little posts that identify your swim area. So once we do that and find out where the swim area is, then what we were recommending maybe is having 2 sets of stairs. And the primary reason for those stairs are so young people that want to get in the water and swim. It's not very deep. And when you first go down the stairs and get in the water will only be about 6 inches deep. But for people that are in there and their parents nearby or on the grassy area here, it'd be a way to access the water, and also for an adult to get in the water if they needed to help someone or bring something to someone. Or it's not for, ADA. If you want to get somebody in a wheelchair in the water, then the options would be having some type of lift that can lower a person. But you'd have to keep in mind that once you lower them, they're only in 6 inches of water, and they would have a little bit of a mobility problem at that point also. I have seen special wheelchairs crafted or built where they have large tires on them and you can roll them in the water. If you had a lift and you lowered somebody into a wheelchair that really wanted to get into the lake, and then you'd roll the wheelchair into the deeper water. So we can add anything you want to add. We looked at floating ramps and different things, but it's just really hard to get a person in a wheelchair down into the water. We felt the best area probably was over here because it's near to the parking, and you could bring them in right here at this location. And then if we did a ramp, we would recommend you give some consideration to maybe having a ramp in front of the bulkhead here, maybe with a handrail on it. So we can have a ramp here where you could bring them down and then they could get into the water. We just have to look at exactly where your swim area is and how far they would be from the swim area at that point. Anyway you go, it's difficult once they get into the water to get into water deep enough where they can get out of the wheelchair. Some people that don't have use of their legs still have use of their arms, and I've seen them swim, but they have to get in water that's deep enough to be able to get out to do that. So it just depends on what you want to do. The sections we're looking at right now, let me just see if I can get down into here. And oh yeah. Okay, so Does anybody know how to operate this laptop? I've got another drawing in there that I'm trying to get to. It was right there next to that drawing. It was loaded. There were two drawings there. Maybe I erased one.
You know what it was put on here with? Flash drive.
I gave it to Don, and Don put it on there.
Tiffany did it, okay. There it is.
There it is. It's rotated, but it's there. It's upside down.
2 more seconds.
So these are details that we're getting to that show what the boardwalk or the bulkhead would look like from the water. And that's it right there. It's a little bit, needs to be lowered a little bit. But, that's pretty good right there. Yeah, a little bit lower, a little bit. Yeah, about right there. I might need your help in a minute to go back to the other one. But, okay, so the detail on the left is a section, this detail right here is a section through the bulkhead where we're using timber piles that go down into the water. And then behind it we have wood lagging, very similar to the bulkhead around your pier, and some stone behind it that would catch whatever drainage comes down the hill off of the grass. You know, it'll go into the stone and then just weep through the wood lagging. And we have a cap detail that we're working on here that, you know, we'll route the edge of the wood so that if somebody wants to sit on the top of the bulkhead and with their feet down, you know, just sit along the water, they could sit there. We don't have a handrail because from what I understood from Hector and Don, that the town does not want a handrail at this time. So there is no handrail there. And this would be looking at the boardwalk from the water. And then this is this construction right here just shows you, this is right here in this area, this is the concrete ramp that you already have. And this is the sandy area that would be your kayak launch and would be a possible way that somebody is handicapped. We could put a ramp right in here and a handrail along the bulkhead where they could walk down and at least walk into the water. If you want to, you can put a handrail as far down the bulkhead as you want out into the water. But there's just different ways to get into the water. It's not actually a requirement to have access to the water like that, but if it's something you want to do, you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to need to get back to that other. So any questions so far on
Any questions?
you've seen
anyone
here?
has?
Madam Mayor, got some.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fleming, yeah, I think at the last time we discussed this, we did want ADA access. I think it would be a good idea to put it down by the kayak launches to as much degree as possible. I like all of our parks to be all-inclusive. I think it would be good for our citizens with disabilities that don't have limited places they can recreate. Also, with your design, can we use any type of materials for the bulkhead, or is it a material-specific type design?
It is. The material we've chosen is a southern pine, very similar to your fishing pier, so it matches the fishing pier. So it'd be a very similar material to that is what we're proposing right now.
Would vinyl sheet piling not be better and last longer?
I don't really think so. I didn't think you liked that word anymore, vinyl sheet piling.
Well, when
But,
used properly.
Yeah, well, you are right about that. If it's used for the, it can't handle a downward gravity load to it. The vinyl sheet piling, we've seen bulkheads built with vinyl sheet piling, but it's a brighter, shinier, harder material, and it's not as warm and friendly looking around the lake. I have seen it used, and you can do that if you want to. It would not be my choice of materials, mainly because of visual.
Were you asked to work on the irrigation system? Did we ask for that last meeting? We discussed this.
I don't think you said anything about irrigation at this point, but there were some questions about just runoff and drainage, that type of thing.
Obviously, that would have to, those thoughts would have to be incorporated in this design, I would imagine. Are we going to be pulling water? Where are we pulling water from for the irrigation system? Does anybody know? We don't know. So.
Originally, from the original lake plan from Phase 2, it was coming from the lake. It was going to be
So-
pumped from the lake and for the irrigation system. But I don't think, like, Phase 2 have you actually seen the Phase 2?
I have not. I've only seen what we've worked on, which is the pier and the bulkhead, and then the continued bulkhead.
In that Phase 2, there was the information about the bulkhead, boardwalk / irrigate, the whole
I
area was
I
in
see.
Phase 2, so it might be that would be something to take a look at as far as a comparison.
I don't know if they were going to run a pipe to pull from the lake closer down to the dam or something like that.
Yeah.
So just something to think about. And have you developed any cost estimates for us?
We don't have a cost estimate right now. We're trying to hone in and get approval to work towards our working drawings, and at that point, I have actually talked to a couple contractors, but I wouldn't want to offer anything until we know what ramps we have, what stairs, and then also the little dock out into the lake. Now that came on in our office was somebody's idea, and it made it onto the drawings. It wasn't supposed to make it onto these drawings, but it did, and disappeared back here. So if you go,
So that could be an option, Mr. Fleming?
it can be an option out there. The difficulty of that is that out in the water like that, you have choices. Do you wire tie it with a cable to the bottom and put an anchor there and allow it to have some slack in it where it moves a little bit and it goes up and down with the water level? Or do we put it on piles and make it rigid? So if you get up on it, it's a little easier if it is rigid, but if the lake goes high, then everything that's on it needs to be designed in such a way that it doesn't go buoyant like your wood deck. You'd have to screw it down really well. So if you did get a really, really heavy rain, then the pier would stay where it is. It would be supported on piles. It would be rigid, but it would be under the water if the water goes up high.
And that would be something that would be past the current swimming buoys that we have out there today?
It could be put anywhere. It could be put anywhere. I was thinking that you might want to try to put it in the buoys, but it doesn't need to be there at all.
Right.
It's up to you. If I know kids sometimes like to swim out and get on something like that and lay out, and you see them on a lot of lakes, but it doesn't have to go there. We did not have it in the original design.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards?
Mr. Fleming, what type of material are you using on the steps?
On the steps right now, that material can be changed. Right now, it's the similar timber that is used, and then we've talked in our office on the treads about doing a little bit more research for some type of friction tread so people don't slip. But it would be timber, and then the handrails and the guardrail would match what you have on your fishing pier with the stainless steel grid. And then it would also have a very similar handrail on each side, and also we'd have a middle rail in the middle.
Another thing, when I had mentioned before about the seniors and the ADA accessibility. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you really well. Yeah.
And about the ADA accessibility, the seniors that had talked to me none of them said anything about going into the water or going swimming.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted access to go to the pier to do fishing and to get close enough to watch the people down there boating or kayaking or something like that.
Yeah.
They never mentioned about actually going in the water.
I totally would think that also, but every once in a while you get that unusual person that is different, maybe more athletic into their older years, or really want to do that. So it's up to y'all, but I totally agree. Most people that are older will sit up on the grass and watch,
Or fish.
or fish.
Or fish. They like
Lots
to
of them fish. Lots of them fish. I'm one of those older people, but.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir, Commissioner Legg.
Mr. Fleming, thank you for coming out this evening. Just a couple of quick questions. The drawing I see here has no handrails on the steps, is that correct?
The drawing, yes, it's just schematic in nature right now. We haven't drawn all the handrails in.
Okay, what is our code, Don, do you know about handrails and steps?
We'll put them on the steps.
Okay, but we don't have to have them on the wall.
They will be on the steps. There will be the steps right now are wide. They're maybe 8 feet wide, so it's a very wide stairs. But it can be changed. But right now we showed them at 8 feet wide, with a handrail on each side and a handrail in the middle. So if several people there'll be lots of handrails.
Okay, thank you on that. As far as the little diving pier out there, I'm not sure our water's deep enough to even have any diving out there. That's just my own personal opinion. I'm not
Yep.
a lifeguard or nothing like
Yep.
that, but
You can say, I would highly recommend if it goes in that swimming area. That swimming area is so shallow, I would have a no diving stenciled into all sides of that. If you
why
do
would we even
that.
put it out there.
It's mainly something that kids like to swim out to and just get away from the adults a little distance and hang out. But you don't have to put it out there.
If we put it there, somebody's going to jump off of it. So, you
I
know,
think you're right about that.
and so if we don't put it there, we won't have that problem. Save a
Understood.
little more money, possibly. And I recall us talking about, as Mayor Pro Tem spoke a while ago, about a handicap accessibility ramp. I think by law, we might have to have that. I know we're having to put walkways all around the town for so that people can get wheelchairs into places. And even if we have to go down there and pour concrete underwater to put wheelchairs on, we might be required to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, you're actually not required to do that, only in a
Good.
federal park. So you're not required to do that, but that doesn't keep you from doing it if you want to. And so if you do a concrete ramp, then the thing we have to research is, if you're at the kayak launch by the existing dock, where do these people want to go when they get into the water? Because it's kind of a long walk. Do they want to walk along the bulkhead and gradually work their way? Because it wouldn't be very difficult to put a concrete ramp in the kayak area along the bulkhead, because then you could put a handrail on both sides, one attached to the bulkhead, and then if it's 4 or 5 feet wide or 4 feet wide, you could have another handrail on the other side, and then they could walk down the little sandy area, kayak launch area, and into the water. And so then it becomes, if you continue with concrete from that point, then it'll silt over. Sand from the lake will cover it, and
I
So-
understand that. We'd have to have that walkway with a bumper rail on it anyway, on the water side, correct? Keep wheelchairs from rolling off.
Absolutely. If we'd have to have some type of concrete wheel guard, so nobody's wheel goes off. Of course, you'll have a handrail too, so the handrail's located very low, and you'll have a guardrail. So the guardrail will be at 3'6". That's required by the code, and the handrail will be lower. And we also probably would want to meet the requirement that you can't get a sphere that's greater than 4 inches in diameter can't fit through the guardrail. So that pretty much keeps a wheelchair from going off.
True. I believe that's all for me right now. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anyone else would like to speak at this time? Commissioner Bellflowers, Commissioner Larson? Any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Steve, thanks. Thanks for putting the effort into the design. I know it may not be required to have an ADA ramp, but I think it's a reasonable accommodation that we should put in. Because like the Mayor Pro Tem said, you know, we're constructing this to be inclusive. And I think that would really fit on the front end other than trying to put something in on the back end. So I really would like to see an ADA ramp put there. I'm not sure I agree with concrete, but some type of ramp to go to the boardwalk. Second question, what's the distance between the top of the bulkhead and the water?
Roughly, depending on the lake level, if the lake level is at 104 and then going over the weir, and Don, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the water level was roughly 104.6.
Yep.
And so the bottom of the bulkhead is at roughly 104, and so from 104 would be the lake bottom at the bulkhead, and the top of the bulkhead would be approximately 40 inches above that.
40 inches above that. Okay. And
Three
that's where the
feet
slope-
4.
And that's where the slope fill is going to come into play.
Yes, and that elevation was picked because it's very similar to the wooden boardwalk that you have on the other side of the concrete boat ramp. They're very similar elevation. Just visually, I think it would look nicer, and also for people walking, they're staying at the same elevation.
Well, I agree with you, Steve, because aesthetically, that would really look good with a nice slope to come completely around.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I asked that, because that's what I thought you were designing. These stairs, are both of them mandatory?
No, the stairs are not both mandatory. They're definitely not, because I'm not sure there's a really code that addresses these stairs, but the reason 2 of them ended up in there is so that, you know, some mother who sees her child or father doesn't have to run and jump off the bulkhead because they don't want to run the other direction to go down the stairs and then come back the other direction where their kids are. I mean, I could just see them running, and I've seen that happen many times, and things like this where somebody has run and jumped in the water to get to somebody. And so we just threw the other stair in there.
So the purpose of the stairs, one of them would be for access the swimming area. Okay, and so if I'm looking at this, and I can definitely see the one on the left would be accessing the swimming area, because that's pretty much where that area is. Now, so that one would be 8 foot, is that what you said?
That's what we started with.
8 foot.
Yep.
Okay, to access the swimming area. And the other one would be outside the swimming area.
Well, that's because the draftsman just put it there.
Just put it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll be moved around.
Yeah.
To get, as soon as we get the swimming area on the drawing, then the idea was to have both of them in the swimming area.
That's where I'm going.
Yep.
That's the emphasis, is that the stairs will only be placed where the swimming area
Yep. Exactly.
is going to be. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
And it doesn't have to be 8, it could be 6.
It could be. It could be 6.
Okay.
If it was 6, we may get rid of the center handrail and just have a handrail on either side if we go that small.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the swimming area that's there now,
It's small.
it is. You would only need one set of stairs, unless we're going to expand the swimming area. Is that what your vision is?
Well, once we draw it, and if it's that small, then I'll let you all decide if a stair right in the middle of the area, you know, seems adequate, then we could eliminate a stair.
Okay.
I think it's very probable that we could eliminate one. We just didn't have any survey information on how big the swim area was.
Are you going to try to keep the swimming area in the same footprint that it is now, or are you going to recommend other options?
Well, it looks really shallow to me for a swim area, but from what I understand, when you go beyond it, that the water drops off real quickly. So you wouldn't want to get near the really deep water. So it may be that you don't have much room
Okay.
to make it further out. You maybe could make it longer. So, but at this time, we were going to try to locate it the best we can and get it on the drawings. We had not planned to recommend that you change it, but the question did come up how it was determined.
I'd like to see some recommended options. As you're designing it,
Yeah.
I think it would be worth discussion.
Okay.
But that's just my thought, Mayor.
Mr. Larson?
Yeah, I agree with the ramp. And I agree with Commissioner Legg on the swimming platform. I think that's incredibly dangerous. I mean, you can post them, but they're still going to dive and smack their head into the ground. The stairs, I'm going to have to see once you get closer to a drawing. I think 2 sets is definitely too much. I personally don't think we probably need either, but that might be a better decision to make as you get closer to having an actual footprint laid out.
You don't think they need either stair?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's 3 feet. You're saying it's 3 feet from the water in that section?
Right.
I mean, I know if my child was in trouble, I'd be running right off of that thing. I wouldn't be going down the stairs, but that's just me. But I'd have to see it as we get closer
Okay.
to the size, too, what I would visually and realistically think would work.
Now, on the ramp, since a couple of you really want that ramp, and the material, I guess, is undetermined at this point, do you think that the ramp would be adequate at the kayak launch area, or are you thinking you want to see it out in the middle of the swim area?
Madam Mayor, I'd keep it right at the kayak launch.
Okay.
And the reason why is because you have the parking lot there. So anyone with a special accommodation could pull up into one of the designated spots in the parking lot and then go from the parking lot down to the ramp if they so chose to access that way.
The only issue we see in our office right now is are people bringing their watercraft into the water there, and trailers and things like that, with somebody maybe in a wheelchair trying to also access it the same close proximity. And then the other question was just once they get into the water there, where are they really?
Yeah.
So until we draw that swimming area in and see where they are.
Well, that'll determine pretty much where that, excuse me, Madam Mayor, that would pretty much determine, wouldn't it, where that ramp what your proposal would be for the ramp?
Yes, it would, as soon as we see the swim area.
Okay.
And or do you feel the same way, that the ramp would be adequate in the
Yes.
kayak launch
but
area?
Going down the slope of the boat ramp and having it veer off. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I mean, I don't foresee it being a huge production, like we're going to have a bunch of people loading their truck all at the same time. I just don't think that will happen, but it could. But I think that seems like the most practical way to go.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
there could be some select citizens that actually kayak that have disabilities. I mean, I have the use of their legs or something like that. That could be a plus right there.
Good point. And the topography, the change in the slope of the bank, does that look acceptable?
I like that, Madam Mayor. I like that slope, the new slope coming out near the top of the wall.
Madam Mayor, I
Yes,
agree
sir.
too. I agree, Steve. I think it's a heck of a lot better than it is now. What we have down there now is a cliff. This is really graded right into the top of that bulkhead, and that's exactly what we were looking for.
Any other questions or?
In the other plan that we had, we also had a boardwalk, and I know that it was mentioned that there could be a plan with or without the boardwalk. Has there been any consideration to the boardwalk? Because our thought with that was that wheelchairs, seniors would have access to the lake and could sit there. There was even in that lake plan also some swings that were there, so just making it more enjoyable for everyone. Has there been any thought on that? I know this board said they wanted just the bulkhead and also maybe what it would cost or look like for a boardwalk.
We don't have a boardwalk right now because it was eliminated, but we could add the boardwalk back.
It would have to be by choice of the board. It was just the reason for it was the thought was that it would make it the lake more accessible from the parking lot for those people that would need to have assistance, and that they could get closer to the water and actually could be there at the water because there would be a continuation of what was on the other side where the pier was.
Right. There's a little bit more risk of bringing a wheelchair down a boardwalk right next to a bulkhead with no guardrail. You'd have to be a little bit more careful
Right.
doing that, so there would be a little bit of risk there. They wouldn't be as inclined to come that far down the bulkhead if they were going over the grass, even though the slope now
Right.
would be such that you could bring someone across the grass. But we can definitely add that bulkhead if that's
That's not, that's just my question was because I know that we had, and again, I'm wondering if it was the wishes of the board that he have access to phase 2 so that he could see how the landscaping along with the sprinkler system and water system was included, because all that was included in phase 2 that we had drawn by Rivers and Ravenel. So that would be a report that you could actually have access to, that a lot of the probably a lot of the even the swimming area might even be in that drawing as
Madam
far as
Mayor,
size.
I thought he was already given phase 2.
Well, I may have seen the original layout for phase 2, but when we started this work, we were instructed, and in our proposal, it was to basically do the bulkhead and the boardwalk, and then those things may or may not be added later. Doesn't mean that they couldn't be added now. I just have to see what you're wanting to do and where.
Okay. I guess what do we need to do at this point? What direction do you need from this board, and do we need a motion from this board as far as the next action for Mr. Fleming?
Definitely, you need to let us know if you want to eliminate that platform out in the water. That would be a really good start, and that you do want the handicap ramp. Those would be two helpful
so I
things.
guess the first thing would be, is there anyone that would like
I'll
to?
make a motion that we just make those few edits for the handicap ramp as close to wherever you deem appropriate near the kayak launch, and remove the platform otherwise. And also, I guess you'll give us the options on 1 or 2 staircases or none. That would be my motion, I guess.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to add or adjust for the handicap ramp and to remove the swim-up platform. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Madam
Seeing
Mayor.
none opposed. Yes, sir.
I gotta get permission to use my left hand.
Okay, well, you may use your left hand, sir. I apologize. Your left hand's fine. Anything else that you would need from us this evening?
No, I think we're good. I just somewhere down the line, I guess if Don could just approve the schematic design with those changes, then we'll move on into working drawings. So we'll start preparing the working drawings. And
Okay, is that
Yeah.
consensus of the board? Okay. All righty.
okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you for
Yep, thank
coming
you.
this evening.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming.
Okay, next we have public hearings, and our public hearing is for proposed voluntary annexation number 2018-01, being all of Lot 4 as a plat entitled Carolyn R. Grant, 4.93 acres, is located on Service Road 2333, Corporation Drive, and is the exact distance of 1 mile north from the intersection of route number road, Service Road 2252, which is Chickenfoot Road, towards the city of Fayetteville, but is not within the city of Fayetteville. Lot 4, Carolyn R. Grant, lot frontage is 527.8 feet facing the west and is north 72 degrees 54.28, east north 18 degrees 26.04 west, south 71 degrees 33.58, and north 17 degrees 57.39, with a lot depth of 412.11 feet. Lot 4 is in the Rockfish Township of Cumberland County. This will be a non-contiguous annexation, and I'll turn it over at this time to Mr. McLaughlin.
I think at this point, this is just the portion where the town directed the clerk to start the process in terms of the assessor efficiency and things of this nature, and she set the public hearing to today. I think, did you guys include the plan review comments in this aspect of it? Or is that on the other agenda item?
I think in tab,
It's probably under tab
under
D,
the,
7D.
the actual ordinance itself, which is tab 9, I believe.
Yes, tab 9. So I think this is just the portion where you allow the public to actually speak on it.
Okay.
But if you guys have any specific questions, most of
Maybe
anything I would have specifically would be tied under tab 9 when we're talking about the actual adoption of the ordinance. I think this is just the portion where you're allowing the public to speak
Okay.
on it if someone has some
All right,
comments.
this time we'll open the public hearing for anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this annexation of the land out on Corporation Drive. Is there anyone that would like to speak against this annexation? Anyone that would like to speak in favor of this annexation? Seeing none, hearing none, I may have a motion to close public hearing.
So be it.
Thank you, sir. And,
Correction, Madam
Yes,
Mayor,
ma'am.
the staff memo is under tab 10.
okay. And we have one under tab 2 also. That staff recommendation, if applicable.
Yeah, those
that the one?
the number 10 is the initial zoning, and then number 9 should be where that memo that Beth put
Yeah, I
together.
got placed in 10.
Oh, so both are under 10. What you'll have under 10 should be what we do, what we had started doing with these annexations is
Staff report.
when we're asking you guys to officially adopt an annexation resolution, we're running it through the plan review committee to get recommendations from all the agencies. For this particular development, I do think all of the departments did recommend approval. I have some specific comments I want you guys to read into the record when you guys adopt it, when
So
you
that
get
will
to
be during new business.
Yes.
Okay. All righty then. That takes care of that. No action at this time. The action will take place in new business. At this time, we have public comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And at this time, I'd like to invite Ralph Molina to the microphone.
My name is Ralph Molina. I'm living 6807 Uppingham Road. Good evening, Madam Mayor, elected officials, and most importantly, the audience. I come here tonight as a veteran. I too have been there with 5 deployments under my belt, 2 in Iraq and 3 in Afghanistan. Organizations like the Lone Survivor Foundation have helped me heal my wounds, reunite with my family, and integrate to society. I also come here as a candidate for County Commissioner at large, seeking to work for all citizens of Cumberland County, to include the town of Hope Mills. The Lone Survivor Foundation is an organization that serves thousands of soldiers and veterans to heal with post-traumatic stress, mild traumatic brain injury, chronic pain, military sex trauma, and such. Last year alone, the Lone Star Survivor Foundation held 38 retreats for over 300 veterans and their families at no cost to them. Any proud American who cares for their veterans would welcome an organization like the Lone Survivor Foundation into their community, especially here in Cumberland County, with tens of thousands of veterans and active duty soldiers in this county and throughout the region. This would be a no-brainer for anyone, a win-win, right? But we have to ask ourselves, why are you voting against it? Ladies and gentlemen, you have a great opportunity here to help create a place where thousands of men and women who serve this country with honor and selfless service and dedication can come to heal their wounds, recover, and reunite with their families, to become productive, active members of our society. Commissioners, I ask of you to reconsider and think. Think about the thousands of men and women who were there when they were needed, when we needed them most. Put them first. Vote yes and clear a path for Lone Survivor Foundation to come to Hope Mills. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes public comments. Next, we have our consent agenda. If there's anything that you'd like moved after I've read the consent agenda to new business, we may do so. First is consideration of approval of the minutes from the August 1st, 2018 special meeting, consideration of the approval of the minutes from the August 1st, 2018 special closed session meeting, consideration and approval of Officer Hart to attend Police Law Institute course in Sellenburg, North Carolina. The course is for 10 days at a cost of $110, and it's already in the budget. And a consideration to accept the July 2018 financial statements. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Motion to approve.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand and left. Thank you very much. Seeing none opposed. Under old business, there is none. Under new business, consideration and discussion of Q-Star graffiti and vandalism deterrent systems to purchase cameras through flash cam technology in the amount of $15,719. Bring that to Ms. Adams.
Any questions?
Is there anyone who has questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, but I have a statement. This is something that's long overdue on the grounds of Hope Mills Parks and Recreation, and it's just not for Parks and Recreation. We can use that equipment in any area that is deemed necessary. So I think it's a very good idea, and it's like I said, it's long overdue.
Any other?
Madam
Yes, sir.
Chairman, would there be any audio with that, or just video?
No, I believe it's just video.
Just video, okay.
Okay, any
Madam
other
Mayor?
discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the camera through the flash cam technology in the amount of $15,719.
I have a
Second.
motion. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Next item on the agenda is consideration and discussion of a possible cancellation or date change for the September 10th, 2018 meeting. And Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Board of Commissioners. There is a calendar behind the tab. And also, just for your reference, the next, the October dates for meetings are October 8th and October 22nd. It's at the board's wishes.
I'd like to make a motion that we cancel the meeting entirely and just go with the second meeting of the month.
So we'll have a meeting on the 24th.
Is that the only meeting for September?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Yes.
Is there any,
The 24th.
any other thoughts or concerns in reference to this? Any discussion? Okay, I have a motion to cancel the meeting on August the 10th.
September 10th, Mayor.
September the
Hold on,
10th. September the 10th, and not to reschedule it, just to cancel it completely. And then our meetings in October will be October the 8th and 22nd, and our meeting in September will be September 24th. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Okay, the next thing on our agenda, and we will need to get that out because doesn't October 1st fall on a Monday? Isn't that what?
Yes.
Yes.
Because
Are we-
October,
are We're not, yeah, we're not
That's why-
changing October's dates.
well, you said
so
October 8th and 22nd was our
Those are our
October
regular,
meetings.
regular meeting
But
days.
normally we meet the first Monday night.
We adjusted it due
Okay,
to
so just
the,
so people know that.
due to the September, and it's posted. It's
Okay,
been posted
all right.
since
As long
December.
as everyone knows.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is discussion of an ordinance for frontage road access between shopping plazas. This was requested by Commissioner Larson. I'll turn over to Ms. Larson for information.
Several months ago, I received 2 calls from 2 different businesses in the shopping plaza next to the Holiday Inn. And they're having difficulty with the concrete median going down Hope Mills Road. So I spoke to Mr. Burns of Division 6, and he said there's absolutely no way they can cut an opening to any of those concretes because that will cause backup on Hope Mills Road, which we already have. So we talked about the frontage roads that run parallel to Hope Mills Road, which is a ordinance that Hope Mills would have to create to have connectivity between shopping plaza to the next shopping plaza to the next, so that it would also alleviate traffic on Hope Mills Road. And he was going to speak to the developer and also with you. So I was just seeing where we are on that.
I never had a chance to speak to Mr. Burns, but we do have in our current subdivision ordinance, in the section that talks about commercial subdivision, lateral access is what it's called in DLT. But in my opinion, it's very, very vaguely worded. So I understand exactly where you're going with it, but in my opinion, I think an ordinance would accomplish that, or you could direct me to strengthen the language in the subdivision ordinance. That's the section that would cover that. We did try that with Lowe's and Walmart, but it
It didn't happen.
Yeah, it just didn't happen.
And how much easier that would have made from Food Lion to Walmart to
And I'll give you
Lowe's if
an
they had that
example
connectivity.
of it already in place. Village Plaza, that you can drive through the entire thing. Now imagine if that wasn't there and the median was.
Right.
It would make it that much more difficult for you to get in and out. So I do think I understand exactly where you're coming from. I think basically just direct me to put some language in it that actually strengthens that a little bit in terms of requirements. It would still go through the same process of the subdivision ordinance. I don't know what you would do with the existing shopping plazas, but that's something that I would explore as well. Based on our subdivision ordinance, it would actually apply to new commercial development. I don't know how to actually, and maybe, you could reach out to some of the developments.
Some of them might want to because it might increase.
That's my
business if
point.
They're thinking about.
That's exactly my
because
point.
they're having to go beyond and make U-turns and come right around, so they're losing business at that point.
I think
So-
if we were to approach the owners of these shopping centers, who are all, I get them all the time, raising issues about these medians, about an opportunity to possibly create that access, I think that would be something that would be well received. I think you do have it in certain areas. If I'm at Dollar Tree, I can go from Dollar Tree to Zaxby's to Waffle House to Samuel's. That's what you're talking about, and you're talking about doing it more in a deliberate way. Like I said, I think with the existing shopping centers, maybe we approach the owners and find a way to make that happen, and then we actually attack it with subdivision ordinance by creating stronger language for future development of commercial subdivision.
So would it be the wishes of the board that we direct Mr. McLaughlin to do this? One commissioner cannot do this. It has to be the direction by the board. So would ask at this time, do we have further discussion? Do we have someone would like to make a motion in reference to changing our ordinance or strengthening our ordinance, and then also making those contacts with the shopping centers.
I can do that.
Madam Mayor, I
Yes,
just
sir.
had some comments. We're just
Yes,
talking
sir.
about shopping centers.
Based what commercial development.
Yeah.
I think the spirit of what she's saying is, and I think I wouldn't get caught up in the wording of shopping centers, but I think she's basically saying for commercial developments along DOT roads where some feel that that median is really negatively impacting access to their sites. If I need to go out of, if I want to go to the bank, I give the state employees credit union. I'm not sure if you could do that now, but if I'm leaving some of these developments, I have to make a right turn out of development, go down, make a U-turn, and come back up. If I'm allowed to just make a left within the parking lot of that existing development to go north without having to go on the Hope Mills Road, wherever that opportunity presents itself, is what we would explore with the existing commercial development along Hope Mills Road. It doesn't necessarily have to only apply to shopping centers.
Right.
Another thing is, my CPA office is in a professional building, 2 stories, and we know Chick-fil-A is coming right beside us. And on our side, that's already been purchased for commercial development. Professionals don't really want 1,000 cars coming through the parking lot. And they're all professionals. It's the doctor,
I will tell you,
Eddie Jones, and myself.
based on the design that I am privy to for the Chick-fil-A site, they actually are directly accessing and connecting to the Holiday Inn site. So even though they have direct access with a stoplight on Hope Mills Road, they're connecting
that
without
makes
us
sense.
even raising the issue. So I don't see anything wrong with us actually exploring it and to see where you can actually try it. I do understand there are probably going to be areas where it's not practical, but I do think that would directly address from our standpoint, because a lot of the frustration when you hear these business owners calling about the medians, I'm getting to the point where my tagline of that's DOT, contact DOT, it's not us doing it, but it would put us in a position where we appear as a municipality to be a little bit more proactive in addressing those concerns in a way that we can control, because we have no control over the meetings and things that DOT does. But I think where it's practical, I think it's something that we could
And I
explore.
think you could bring back to this board some recommendations that, and even within that ordinance, some ways that it could be written that would address all those areas.
And I would do that in coordination with DOT as well, as well as the county, because I have been talking to the county. I just hadn't had a chance to get Greg on the phone.
So do we want to put that in form of a motion, so to direct?
I'll put it
One
in a
of you.
motion. I'll make a motion that we direct Mr. McLaughlin to look into either strengthening or providing an ordinance that will work to help connectivity.
Okay, I have a motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right and left hand. Seeing none opposed, thank you, sir. Next thing on our list is consideration and discussion of Annex Ordinance 2018-01.
All right, this is the portion that should have had that item that was in tab 10. There's the tab 10 item is supposed to specifically talk about the initial zoning, which I'll get into next. The tab that you're supposed to be looking at is what I was saying earlier. What we do now when we're at the final stage of approving or asking you guys for consideration of an annexation ordinance, we actually give you the comments specifically from each department, so that if there's some issues from police, if there's some issues from fire, if there's some issues with stormwater and things of that nature, you are actually provided with that information so that you can factor that into the decision. Based on the conversations that we've had, all the departments are recommending approval of this ordinance. The only thing I would say that I would probably request that you read in the record are the planning comments that state that if you are aware, this development has already been permitted in the county. It's still under construction. They haven't received a final CO. It wouldn't make sense for you guys to approve and if you are approving the annexation, to allow the county to still have the jurisdiction of the issuance of the permits up until the CO, final certificate of occupancy, has been granted. After that happens, then any future permits or any future construction or expansion of the business will come under the Town of Hope Mills. It would create a very murky jurisdictional nightmare if we decided that we were going to start permitting the final back half of the existing permit, so it would make sense just to allow the county to continue on. I think they're very close to completion anyway, so it just would make it clean if you guys consider it tonight, just to keep the county under this jurisdiction of issuance of the final certificate of occupancy.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem if we do that. The only thing that I can see that may come up, and I think Don can probably help with this a little bit. We have other project that has been taken up by approval in the county, that the streets and parking lots, roads didn't meet our specifications. Now, if we approve those streets and parking lots under the county's jurisdiction, then our taxpayers are gonna have to come back and fix all those parking lots in the future.
Private.
Well, what I would say,
Parking.
only time that becomes an issue for our Public Works Division is if we're talking about infrastructure being put in terms of an actual road in a subdivision. If we're talking about a private development on a lot and we're just talking about the parking lot, then that wouldn't fall under our authority in terms of being required to maintain it. So for this development, from my understanding, based on the current design, it's just a standalone development of one site with a massive parking area, but it does not anticipate the installation of any infrastructure that would fall under the jurisdiction approval of the Public Works Department.
When do we step in and take control of the conditions of the parking lot after it's done, after it's given to us, that our taxpayers have to pay for it?
There would never be a situation where we would have to actually maintain. If it's a municipal parking lot that we own, then yes. But if it's private development and it's just a parking lot and private development, that would never be our responsibility.
Okay, I see what you're saying there, because, well, that parking lot won't be turned over to us for maintenance.
No, that's correct. That's correct.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Chancellor, as these permits are being issued, it's a two-part question for you. Is the information being shared with you by the county staff, and do you have a good working relationship with the county staff as this project develops?
I would say the answer to your first question would be no. We are not privy to their permitting of it, and I would say our relationship is still pretty amicable in terms of information sharing. Just like when I talked to them today about the cross
That's the
lateral
main
access
emphasis
things. of
I
that
have
nature.
is
There's
the
information
exchange
being shared, but
of
we're
the
not
information.
on an alert where we get information.
Yeah, they're sharing what they can. And I've reached out to Tracy Jackson to see if he could find out if they had any idea when a CO would be issued. And he copied me on an email and the reply back, and at this time, they don't have a date. of
Now I
when
will
the CO
say,
would be issued.
we have been in constant conversation with PwC,
PwC,
where
yeah.
When they initially submitted their annexation packet, I sent a direct email to PwC, because if you recall, that is a part of the requirements of our PwC agreement. So I did send an official notification to PwC notifying them that the annexation packet was received, and also that the final hearing was set for tonight. In terms of the public hearing, I'm not sure exactly where they are in the process of their approval with PwC, but PwC is actually a member of our plan review committee. So that's something I can ask them specifically on Thursday. But
Mark Brown is here
and Mark
from
Brown
PwC.
is here as well
if
from
there's any
PwC.
questions
If you do have
related
any
to that.
questions in terms of the staff.
Chancellor, in the spirit of cooperation, Mayor, I'll continue. I just think this project is an excellent opportunity for us and the county to work together
Correct.
and be on the same team with the same outcome for this business. I
Correct.
really do.
Correct.
In the spirit of cooperation. I know in the past there's been some finger pointing, let's say, and I think we need to get past that, and that's why I say that.
Correct.
So with that said, Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve Annex Ordinance Number 2018-01, and I'll read the recommended action. Due to the fact that permits were issued in the county and that the project is currently still under construction, staff recommends that all permits issued prior to annexation should remain under the jurisdiction of Cumberland County. This would also include any permits needed for the issuance of the final certificate of occupancy as well. Any future permits needed after annexation and after the issuance of the final CO from Cumberland County should then fall under the jurisdiction of the town of Hope Mills. Staff has also requested a CP plan commercial district for initial zoning, as this is the district that the development was initially approved under.
Perfect.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Now, does that take care of both, or do we need a?
Technically, no, but you do have to officially make a motion. But he kind of read everything I was going to say with this next piece.
Does that
I got
take
it all,
care of
Chance.
it, or do we need
That's
to-
up to you guys. If you guys want to basically roll that into one motion, because the initial zone is just authorizing me to send that request to the county, and me explaining that the reason why we're requesting CP is because that's what the zoning is in the county right now.
Madam Mayor, that's why I read the entire paragraph.
Yeah, so that should be fine.
Because it is
So we're good.
inclusive
Okay,
with tab 10.
so we're good. All righty.
Thanks.
Next on our agenda is consideration adoption of panhandling ordinance, and this is behind tab 11. And I'll ask Ms. Adams.
Well, actually,
Or
this is,
Mr. Hartzog, I
Attorney
guess,
Hartzog.
yes.
Yeah.
So the board asked me to draft a panhandling ordinance mirrored on the city of Fayetteville's panhandling ordinance, and that's what is behind tab number 11. I've changed very little of the language, but I've sort of tightened up some of the definitions. But this essentially mirrors what the city of Fayetteville has. Getting to the next item, the city of Fayetteville also recently passed the motor vehicle ordinance, which prohibits the passing of items between motor vehicles. That is really not a panhandling ordinance per se. It's more related to motor vehicle safety. Of course, it has the effect of preventing panhandling on highways, but it's really a different thing. So there's two different ordinances at play. The first one that we've got is the actual panhandling ordinance that prohibits panhandling as written here. I'll be happy to answer questions about it if y'all have any.
Madam Mayor, just on
Yes,
that,
sir.
I guess we're discussing two tabs at one time.
Sure.
The one about handing items from a vehicle ordinance also includes solicitors, I believe I read, correct?
Yes, soliciting,
Right.
trying to request money from a vehicle.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Does that cover any kind of private property such as parking lots?
Does not. And that, in fact, that's, if you look, I believe that's specifically excluded from the panhandling ordinance. And of course, roadways would not be private property in any event. But private
that was-
property is specifically excluded from the panhandling ordinance.
I was approached by two ladies today, wanted to know how far it was to Lillington.
How
She
far-
came here, she probably knew, and she wanted gas money to go back to Lillington. She knew how far it was before she came or when she got here. So I told her I couldn't help her, but I didn't know whether that was part of the panhandling deal or,
If it happened on public property, that would probably constitute panhandling, if you're asking for.
that was on the Walmart property.
This would probably only apply to public areas. Well, yeah, areas the general public has access to, defined on page 2 of the panhandling ordinance.
So that would be included in the future if it's passed.
But we also, Madam Mayor, we also have the, can't be within so many feet of an ATM, which could be on private property.
That's correct, yeah.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question for Attorney Hartzog.
Okay.
How would this affect, I don't know that we have recently or in the past, fill up the boot drive for the fire department? Have we ever had an event like that? How would that apply should we wish to do something like that in the future?
I'm not sure that would constitute under this ordinance begging, soliciting, or panhandling.
Okay.
But that's something I can look into, and I don't think under this that would apply.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you don't mind
I will
just checking.
look at that, yeah.
Okay.
But it would apply if it was in, on a public roadway.
Well, the public roadway ordinance is different. That's, again, it's not necessarily a panhandling ordinance. It's
Right.
just passing of, or soliciting from a vehicle. So that particular one probably wouldn't apply,
Okay.
as I understand how that works.
So if you got a solicitor, it doesn't matter whether it's with the Shriners or with the town, standing on a median, that's not gonna be allowed.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Madam Mayor, make a motion that we adopt the new panhandling ordinance as written.
Okay, I have a motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right and left hand. Seeing none opposed. The next would be the handing items from vehicle ordinance.
Madam Mayor, since we already discussed it,
Yep.
make a motion to adopt the handing items from a vehicle ordinance as well, as written.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand and left. All seeing none opposed. Next, we have discussion of former golf course property, Heritage Park, former lake bed number 2, opening for public use, and this is requested by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell. So I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Back in 2012-13 timeframe, I did make a motion that was successful to identify all of our properties, and if they pose some kind of liability issue, to go ahead and post the property. Before I knew it, I think we posted about everything in town. But I will say that I think I took my son fishing about 10 years before the dam failed, down below the dam, and we went around the mill number 1 site and the historical flume and all that, never incurred any injuries. I'm not asking for any hasty actions on this, but I would ask of my fellow elected, I would like for us to do some site visits of these properties mentioned. I would like for us to have a workshop sometime in the next couple of weeks to a month time frame with staff to discuss the possibilities of opening up these properties. Like to discuss centralizing and securing materials perhaps at one location if needed versus 3 locations, or securing them with fence or whatever may be needed. Right now, of course, we don't own the golf course parking lot. We can wait. These are just my items for discussion at the workshop, really. But I would like, and this one may need to be moved on a little sooner than later, but I'd like us either work toward a letter of understanding with the private property owner that owns the parking lot. If they are not open to that idea, then perhaps a temporary lease type thing so our citizens can park there. And then I believe Commissioner Larson was interested in maybe DOT going ahead and having discussions with our staff as well about having an access that we own on the property so that we can be proactive at the old golf course. If we do, I don't necessarily want the no trespassing signs removed. I prefer that the no trespassing portion of that be replaced with something like proceed at your own risk, but still leave the Town of Hope Mills property markers there. Town Manager Adams also mentioned getting some drone footage of these properties so we have a better idea as to the details, what they may look like. Certainly at the golf course right now, there's no reason why citizens in Eaglewood couldn't walk across the street, enjoy picnics, walking, pick up softball game, frisbee, whatever, right, even today. The grass is maintained. We're paying $25,000 a year or something like that to maintain the property. All this property belongs to our citizens. They should be getting the use of it. either at Lake Bed Number 2 or the golf course. There's no reason why disc golf couldn't be introduced. I know that there's been some interested parties in doing that. I know there would be grassroots efforts by our citizens to clean up these properties. We have 2 days a year that citizens walk beside the roadways and clean up the roadways, which is as dangerous as anything else these days, that a car could always veer off and clip somebody. Also, I'd like to see fishing made available at Lake Bed Number 2 and the golf course. All these, again, would be discussed in a workshop in more detail. As far as liability, you know, everywhere we look, we have liability. That's what insurance is for. You got the river walk, which is, I don't even know, I did probably 15 miles of unsupervised areas most days. Most of Mazarick Park is unsupervised, and the other parks in Cumberland County, they have an attendant that comes through occasionally, 2 or 3 times, 4 times a day maybe. But again, these were all things we could talk about in a workshop. I'm not looking for any hasty actions to be made. We don't make decisions that way. This board does not. And I just appreciate your support if you can get behind it.
Question I have, because we took a tour personally with boots and mosquito spray and everything. We did the golf course, and what we have on the golf course that you can't see from the front is the old sprinkler system that's out there, the old wells that are out there. There's a lot of broken glass and equipment that's in a room that's or building that's toward the back. There's also a lot of areas back at the back that because of erosion and other things. So I too agree. I think we should probably get our boots on and do like we did when we went up and looked behind the land where the graveyard was on Legion Road. Take that tour, because I think once you take it and you see the scope and the way the landscape is, there is liability, because we were told that when we were out, when we looked, previous town manager, along with a couple of commissioners, myself, and the owner at that time of the golf course. The other area, too, during the flood of when Hurricane Matthew came, I took a tour down in the area along Rockfish Creek, both Rockfish Creeks, and what we found there was not only what's left, the debris, but also the inclines. There's so much risk of falling because the way it's high on one side, or you fall into holes and stuff. So I think I feel comfortable in saying that if we all took came prepared to go on an excursion and make the workshop an active workshop. I don't know that right now is the best time, because it's hot and there's mosquitoes, and there's also still snakes. That's been the issue. So maybe within...
Maybe October?
Yeah. When it gets a little cooler,
October.
and then also when you have not such threat of other varmints that might get you. But I can tell you, being someone that has taken tours of all of those areas, there were concerns, but high boots were needed because of, there was water moccasins and there were lots of mosquitoes. So if you want to set a date, you want to look at something in October, or plan something around that. I know that's not giving our public access until after we go out and do this workshop, but I do believe we need to do our due diligence. I know that all I've read from the email that we got on Friday in reference to the concerns about liability, at this day and time, it's so easy for somebody to file a lawsuit and win. That's the sad part, is that and it could start a chain reaction in case of places that we haven't had access to.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
While they're trying to find a date there, correct me if I'm wrong, either Melissa or Don.
Mm-hmm.
Did Mr. Cruz already initiate working with DOT about a possible curb break for Gulfview Road to a parking lot to the golf course?
I think he did, but what happened with that, or what the conversation was, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he did initiate an initial conversation with them about it.
May I ask Don? Don, are you aware of any?
We did, we started,
Come- Please,
Need to come
thank
to the
you.
microphone, please.
I know.
we started looking at the process of the driveway permits, and that was put on hold pending the outcome of the McAdams survey, because you have to identify locations when you put driveway permits into the DOT, and without having any idea of what the layout of the golf course property is going to be, we weren't going to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's correct, Madam Mayor. I remember that discussion, Don.
May I ask, wouldn't the logical location be at somewhere like Fairway Drive on Gulfview? A red light at that location would serve more than one purpose?
A red light at that location? That would strictly be up to DOT and their logic. I won't speak to.
Is
And I
that something
think-
we can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to suggest also that Gulfview is also on their list of projects of roads to be
Widening.
widened. So I think those cuts in that road would be appropriate when we know more about what's going to be at the golf course, and then also when they know what they're going to be doing to the roadway, and that's coming. I think it's on the I saw it on the points thing for real soon, like 2019, 2020, that they're
I
going to
believe,
start.
is their
Yeah.
list. Yes.
Okay, well, it's good to know at least we have something that has been discussed, and maybe if we have to bring it back up, it won't be such a new thing to DOT's list of items they want to do. And I agree with the mayor, if they're going to work on Gulfview Road, the entrance to the golf course wouldn't be a bad idea at that time.
Let them do it, not make us pay for it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if,
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Don.
how does October 18th, if that's not too late, October 18th, any time of day works for me, but that's a Thursday.
Thursday. I was going to suggest that week because that's in between our two meetings.
That's fine with me.
It's not a good day for me, Mayor.
Okay.
Not, okay.
What about the 16th or the 17th?
It's fine by me.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
The 17th is good for me.
It's good for me.
That's on a Wednesday.
What time?
Doesn't
Right.
matter.
It'll be cooler then, I'm assuming.
We'll
so,
have to do a notice of quorum.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah. It would
Probably
be,
do it
Needed
earlier in the day.
specific
yeah,
time.
probably earlier in the day would be better. And then if you needed to do it
9
longer
a.m. maybe?
time, yeah.
You want to do it in first thing in the morning?
9
Yeah.
a.m.?
Say 9.
Can everybody?
Can you do
Would
9
9
a.m.?
work on Wednesday, 9 a.m. on Wednesday?
She can't go.
No.
Can't go. You're gonna be gone. What's
But
that?
y'all go ahead. I can
Oh, you're on a
catch up.
cruise?
Yeah, but I can catch up.
Can you cancel it?
Not hardly.
Unless y'all wanna go to, I go 22nd through the 26th. Well, we got, when's Old Mill Days?
21st.
That's coming up pretty quick there.
Quick little issue here. If you're gonna have a quorum present, it has to be open to the public.
Sure.
And I don't think you want to necessarily have the public following y'all along on the tour because of the dangers.
What we did when we did this before, and that was at the Legion Road property, is we advised the public, and if they came, that to come prepared, because we did have some that came. They wanted to go back there to see where the grave sites were, and so they were told in advance to come in, boots, jeans, wear a hat. So that would have to probably, what we'd have to do is give instruction that it's open, but it would be, yes.
Very uncomfortable, very
Could we
uncomfortable.
have a waiver for the people that want to come?
You could have one.
Come at your own risk.
I like the way you said that.
Right.
We did
Yeah.
have people that came.
Yeah, I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
that there.
I think we're doing due diligence if we're walking beside our citizens.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're
Right.
out there by themselves or anything. It's gonna be like somewhat of a guided tour from our staff, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, I suppose it's probably fine, but, you know, I'm a lawyer, I gotta think about the liability issues.
But you'll check that out for us and let us know for sure.
Wednesdays are better for you, Commissioner Bellflowers.
Well, on that week, it would be.
So the next week would
Would be
be,
Friday, would be the next week.
Oh.
Just for that, the 17th is good for me, but the following week, it would be Friday.
Then we're close to Old Mill Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
real close.
Yeah.
It's just a couple days away, so.
Or the Friday prior to that week, the 17th.
Well, the bugs and
12.
snakes are still out if you get too early.
So, I mean, that's
I'm
the only
fine
available
whenever.
I have. It's either the 12th or the 17th or,
I'm tough before the 15th. 'Cause I have a Mrs. Slack client
yeah.
that filed her returns on October 15th.
Well, you want to go on the 12th?
he says that's before the
That's
15th.
before the 15th.
You want to
He
go the
can't-
17th?
If we go the 17th, Commissioner Edwards cannot be there.
That's all right.
We can take video for you?
I've been through there before,
Okay.
Okay.
so I know what it's like.
I've played many rounds of losing golf. And
So what do we decide, 17th,
17th at
October
9?
17th,
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.? Okay.
Where are we going to meet?
We'll start at the golf course. And if you, we can always do the easement side, and
Or
park on the easement side for YMCA if the owner, but it will probably just Mr. Bijou. We probably can ask him and he'll let us park there. Just have to make those arrangements prior to then probably. And then the rest of the property won't be a problem. Legion Road, they can park at my house and walk across.
Can we even just shoot some maps where the citizens can park as well with the public notice?
And also, there's property down off of, what is it, Duncan Street? Duncan and Davis back in there. There's a couple of places that are remote that people aren't even gonna know. We got those locations that I've been on that, yeah.
There's South Main
How
as
many,
well.
if
But
you
I'll
don't
go
mind
there.
my asking, how many properties are we going to be visiting in this day?
Yeah, that was my question.
I just had the 3.
Just the three, or more
had the
than
three.
that?
That was my question.
The 3 were good for me.
I think, yeah,
Whatever
the
you all
only,
wanna do.
the only other one might be where Butler Nature Preserve is, because we own property that you can go through to get to it. If we ever wanted to consider making better use of that as an educational site, which would, you know, we wouldn't have to do a whole lot to do that. It's just we have to get access to it and have it set up so that Chapel Hill would agree to let us use it.
maybe Miss Sterling will make us aware as this date approaches.
So
Okay.
looking at 17th at 9 a.m., and that would be a tour of town properties.
Workshop, a working workshop.
Okay.
A walking
A walking
workshop.
workshop.
Walking,
there.
A
and just
walking
know that
workshop.
it is a long walk. Walking workshop, okay. All righty, next thing, I had added to the agenda, item I, which is the festival committee. The festival committee requests that we put on the town calendar. Spring Festival, a name to be announced soon, but it will be centered around the cardboard boat race that we're going to trigger as an annual event, and they would like it to be the third weekend in May, and just put it that every year, the third weekend in May. And it would be a Friday through Sunday event, so it would be a Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday. And the committee is very interested in doing some of the same types of things they did for the lake celebration. And they've already started acquiring sponsors to cover the cost of some of the things. And they're hoping to do even a better job with sponsors this time because of having the time to do it. So I guess we need a motion to put that on the calendar, the third weekend, every May, starting in 2019.
So moved.
Have a motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Next thing I added to the agenda was the Mayor's Youth Leadership Committee. And what we did last year was you authorized me to contact the schools. We contacted Jack Britt, Graves Creek, and Southview. They're SGA sponsors. We have a letter that we can use this year that we already made up. I visit their schools at least once during the year, once during the semester, and then they also send us 3 representatives from their SGAs, and those members come and meet once a month with me prior to a meeting, and then they make presentations to our board based on whatever is current that we're going over. And they did a great job, I think, with the multimodal congestion plan, and they also did a lot with the Parks and Rec survey. Typically, these are the leaders of the school. So I would ask that their first meeting this year be bumped up to be that October, which would be our second meeting, October 22nd. And they would meet at 6 p.m. in the conference room. And at that meeting would be the organizational meeting where we'd actually elect the chairman, the vice chairman, secretary, and then start looking at what their task would be for this year. And hoping to get them in a Citizens Academy too. We did get 1 or 2 of them to join, but would like to get them even further.
Motion to move the mayor's request.
Okay, I have a motion and any other discussion. All those in favor, say, raise your right hand. Seeing none opposed. And Ms. Starling, if it's okay with Ms. Adams, I can get with you, and because I don't think any of the adults' leadership has changed, so we just need to get those letters that we used last year. We can resend them to get that information. Thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the manager's report, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Board of Commissioners. I have a few updates. The Rockfish Road sidewalk drawings of the new curb and storm drain alignment have been sent to DOT for review and approval. DOT has notified us that we were selected for a federal audit, and the tentative date is scheduled for September 18th. The new museum location, Public Works staff has begun discussions with consulting architects concerning design and reutilizing materials from the Fountain Lane House and the Episcopal Parish House. The Episcopal Parish House improvements to the appearance, Public Works staff has cleared the front stoop, removed the handicap ramp, painted the railing, and removed some piping.
Looks wonderful.
Does look a lot better. Just a reminder that eel migratory season runs from September 1 to October 15th, 2018. And Laura Sheeran Femmeister, PE, Environmentalist Specialist, Senior Engineer with Schnabel Engineering, visited the dam site on August the 14th to take pictures and gather information concerning the application for the Envision Award. Staff is continuing to gather additional information for the submittal of the application. In January 2017, actually January 23rd, 2017, the Board of Commissioners passed a resolution in support of pursuit of the accreditation through the Envision program pertaining to the Hope Mills Lake Dam. The Envision Award is a third-party project verification program that is available to recognize projects that have achieved higher levels of sustainability using Envision. This is an international award, and the Hope Mills Dam will be the first dam project to be submitted for consideration. Project verification is a transparent process to confirm that a project meets the Envision evaluation criteria. Envision is a flexible resource that facilitates the development and maintenance of sustainable infrastructure. The Envision Sustainable Infrastructure Rating System is a comprehensive framework of 60 sustainability criteria that addresses the full range of environmental, social, and economic impacts to sustainability in project design, construction, and operation. These criteria are called credits and are arranged in 5 categories: quality of life, leadership, resource allocation, natural world, and climate and risk. Schnabel Engineering will be submitting the application this fall. Fountain Lane House, an update to that, the hazardous material sampling was completed on August the 16th, and samples have been sent to the laboratory for testing and analysis. We have received notification that NCDOT will be extending the turnaround bulb at the intersection of Main Street and Gulfview. The responsible agencies are being notified to move their respective wires. Public Works staff has discussed road markings at the intersection of Rockfish Road and Main Street with NCDOT, and markings will be placed in the near future. After consultation with Police Chief Achardo, the police department will begin videoing town-owned property with their drone. Staff will be working out the details within the next couple of weeks. On Thursday, October 16th, Governor Roy Cooper visited a home on Bishaman Street in Hope Mills that was damaged by Hurricane Matthew in 2016 and rehabilitated through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. I will be meeting with Kevin Monroe, Deputy Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, on Wednesday, August 22nd at 10 a.m. at the Town Hall to discuss 3 properties that have been submitted to the state hazard mitigation staff for acquisition. The paperwork was completed and confirmed by the state in December 2017. To date, we have not heard anything in regards to the property acquisition. These homes are all located in the floodplain and currently uninhabited. And Mr. Monroe has assured me that he and the governor will do whatever they can to assist us in that process. Attorney Hartzog has shared with me that he has received the Best Lawyers in America 2019 award for municipal law. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well earned.
I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the staff that volunteered at the food truck rodeo this last Thursday. We had an extremely successful event, and I only heard positive comments. We had over 100 children that received back-to-school supplies, and we collected many items to be donated to the Fay One event and the Alms House. And I think if any of you saw on Facebook, Mr. McLaughlin's car was loaded down with those items that were collected. But in addition, we did give away over to 100 kids that attended that event. And I really, kudos to the staff for coming out and volunteering their time for such an event. I'm so proud of everybody that, stayed and worked and helped. So thank you to the staff for that. And that is all that I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, of course, there on your agenda you have your reminders for the different meetings that are taking place. Also, Labor Day holiday, Town Hall will be closed on September the 3rd. Our next food truck rodeo is September the 6th, and then Chamber Luncheon is September the 10th. The other committee meetings that are available for you, the ones that you are liaison to. At this time, do we have any staff comments? Ms. Starling?
No, thank you.
Ms. Adams? Mr.
No,
Hartzog?
no, thank
And
you.
again, congratulations. Official comments, I'll start with Commissioner Bellflowers.
Dan, again, congratulations, well earned. Mayor, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, hanging out with us, but I wanted to share something as well. I was humbled and honored to attend the Sand Hills Purple Heart dinner event at the Crown Complex Saturday night. Well over 1,000 veterans and their family members were in attendance to recognize 129 Purple Heart recipients. Also, 2 Medal of Honor recipients were there and recognized the Gold Star mothers as well as ex-POWs, living, and the MIAs. It was a very, very good event. And many of these veterans live in Hope Mills, and there was a lot of conversations during that event that was really positive. It was a very, very good event, and it couldn't have happened without the community support and all the sponsors that went into putting it on. And Mayor, I just want to say that it was a moving event, and I really enjoyed the conversations with a number of people that were there. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Edwards?
I too would like to congratulate our Attorney Hartzog, but I'd also like to really congratulate Melissa, our town manager. She gave a lot of accolades to her staff and everything, but every time they do anything, she's right out there with them. And never ending. She was there from the beginning to the end, and it was a fantastic event. Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. It's part of the job.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'd like to thank y'all for coming out tonight and got through the nasty weather. We did have a good meeting with Governor Cooper and his staff, and Cumberland County Representative Councilman Charles Evans was there as well. And we met with the Fillmores over in East Fairway. Of course, they've already had their house repaired, but staff was able to communicate with the governor's staff about those 3 properties that the town manager mentioned. I don't need to know tonight, but several years ago, I was asked from a citizen to check on our Crepe Myrtle Fund. That's something we funded. I think the commissioners and the mayor back in 12 or 13 put $600 in. I don't know if we ever used it or not, or if it's still earmarked for the appearance committee. If we could find that out for the next meeting. And Madam Town Manager, I guess we don't monitor eels that are leaving our property. There's no way to do that, right? Going downhill or downstream.
I don't, yeah.
I would just ask that in the media that you do balance reporting, please get both sides of the stories you print, because I've read some things that do concern me that are not factual. And if you, no matter who you represent, if you do balance reporting, you will be respected by the citizens. But it's one-sided reporting is doing nothing, especially it's a negative thing for our town, and it's making us a laughing stock of all of the state of North Carolina. So I just ask that you do balance reporting. All 6 of us up here are approachable. We're very friendly people, believe it or not. Our cell phones are all public. They're on the website. Our email's on the website. We'd be glad to share our views from our side. And I just think it would be a good thing for our community if you really truly want to bring our community forward in a positive way. Please get both sides of the stories you're reporting on, and I would appreciate that. That's all I've got, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Larson?
Congratulations. That's awesome. Food truck was fantastic. I have to agree with Pro Tem Mitchell. I would like for our attorney to clarify whether I have a conflict of interest based on the blog that Ms. Blevins wrote between Lisa and I, Lisa Waring and I.
Sure. I did read that article, and no, I don't believe there's a conflict of interest. I think that article was focused on a quasi-judicial hearing, which was not what was before the board.
Thank you. Also, Ms. Waring was not and has not been my election manager. I was my own, and that is public record at the election board. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Commissioner Legg?
Again, Dan, congratulations.
Thank you.
It speaks well for us as it does for you, your representation. of us is probably better looked upon now than it was before you got there. I would also like to say that thanks for all the prayers for my daughter who had a very difficult, life-threatening surgery, and she's home now and doing very well, I might add. I wasn't at the truck rodeo last week because I was at the Duke Medical Center for her surgery that was that day. So if there's a attendance list there, put a question mark beside of mine, will you? So, might add, Madam Mayor, if I may, you may have already done it, under the reminders that we did cancel the Monday the 10th meeting. So, and Cash, now we have a parents committee meeting coming up this week. Ma'am?
Tuesday.
Tomorrow night? Next week? Okay. I looked on here and I said, well, I don't see it on here, but, okay, I know I've got it on my calendar, but anyway, the Parks and Recreation, or the Parents Committee meeting will be next Tuesday evening. God bless all of you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I also want to add to, we need to advertise for our Veterans Affairs Commission. I know that our chairman has resigned. I did have his letter, and I know he forwarded a copy to the town. I'm also concerned about the Maoris. I need to find out the husband and wife that are members, whether or not they're still planning on attending. But I do believe since we've got so much coming up with Heroes Homecoming, that committee does a lot. And it would be a good thing if we could get some more worker bees there to assist. And those of you that are on Facebook, the Heroes Homecoming site has now put all of the events, event by event, which would also include the Hope Mills events. So if you go there and read about them, you'll find out what we're doing here, what our chamber is doing, and then also what's taking place during that span of time, November 9th through 11th. But this year, it's the 100th year of Fort Bragg, so there's a lot of special interest because of that. The other thing I'd like to bring to your attention, and this is just because it was brought to my attention, it is a political year. We do have an election in November. There's candidates running for all the offices. However, we do have a built-in relationship with those that are our incumbents. And I think it's important that we recognize the fact that Representative Zoka, Representative Richardson, Representative Floyd, Representative Lucas, and also Senator Wesley Meredith have been very active in Hope Mills. And I do believe that we do not have to politically endorse them or anything else, but I do want you to keep in mind they're still there and they still help us, and I do not want to offend them. So choose to who you want to support, but just keep in mind that as being in a nonpartisan seat up here, we do have to be open-minded, especially in this time of year. So I do want to bring that to your attention. The other thing that was asked of me, and this is something that since we're bringing up request, Fisher Road, and I guess that's the road off of Bingham that goes toward our new housing area that we have that sort of doesn't, people don't realize it's in Hope Mills. That road, when you turn in, you come from 2 lanes into 2 lanes, but one of those lanes dead ends, and you're having lots of issues of people like they were doing on Camden Road and Camden Road and turning straight or where they put the middle thing in. They would like the residents of that housing area believe now there's more traffic there, that they would like that the town request that they close that second lane because it goes to nowhere. It's just an avenue for somebody to come in, and then they cut off people. And now that school's starting back, they're saying there's probably a greater risk of accidents there. But you just, all you have to do is just go down there and see. It's 2 lanes that turns into 2 lanes, but then that second lane is non-existent as far as
Are
continuing.
you
Yes.
talking off of, you're talking by the light, turning left onto Fisher?
Yeah, it's off
Over
of
by-
Bingham,
Right.
across from the Exxon station
Right,
on
mhm.
Bingham. And what happens is there's 2 lanes on Bingham. The intent was there's supposed to be some commercial development on the right, so they went ahead and snubbed in that turn lane. But what's happening now is because there's so much traffic going to that new area that's in Hope Mills, they call because they're now realize they're Hope Mills. So if
Right.
there's a way of, I think the main thing is if it just be like they did up on Camden Road, close that lane off of Bingham, so it's just one lane turning, and then they just close that second lane that's on that road. That was brought to my attention, and this morning especially because teachers went back to work, and there was an accident there of some sort this morning.
Okay.
Okay?
Mayor, may I
Yes,
say
sir.
one, are you done?
Yes, sir. I'm through.
I guess this question would be for the police chief. While we're in that area, the entrance to Georgetown Estates, were you able to help Mr. Armstrong with anything with that parking on the entrance to Georgetown Estates, where the people are learning? Last year, they let kids out on the road, and he's afraid somebody's going to get hurt, and he had requested some no parking zones, or no parking signs for that entrance. He said he wasn't worried about the grass. He could plant it back. He didn't want to see a kid get injured.
Yes, sir, that issue was resolved.
Did you get some signs up there?
I don't know about the signs, but it was resolved with the school.
Okay. Because that is town limits.
Right. And that's why we're all of a sudden, because there's some issues there. And one other thing, just as a request, we had talked to Mr. Kinlaw last year about the sidewalk project at Rockfish. I do believe probably there need to be some contact with them in reference to where we are. There may have already been, but with school starting back, I know that there's been several that are concerned about the normal parking that's up there, and we had asked the school system if they couldn't come up with a
Plan.
plan, and I doubt they have, and it's getting ready to happen soon.
Okay.
Anything else for the good of the cause? If not, we
Motion
appreciate
to
everyone
adjourn.
being here this evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you for coming. See you not until September. It's gonna be a long time. Oh, Lord, it's a long.
24th.
A month, a whole month. A whole month. Yes, sir.